where that got us thousands of users like in just a month, because now you suddenly have these people talking about you, and it's a lot easier to like use it as a springboard for growth.
Hey guys, welcome back to another episode of The Public Show. I'm your host, Kevon. Usually I do this type of interviews on the internet, virtually. But today I'm so excited because I'm welcoming Bryan into my little studio here in Hong Kong because he's visiting. And we're going to talk about, designing businesses around our lives and growing the businesses and the kiddos at the same time. And how do we incorporate transparency into running the business? But most importantly, I know you're here for that. How Bryan got his first group of fans so then he can work with them to improve the product. I know this interview is a little long, so we have the video chapters below. I know the setup is a little ghetto, but it's our first time doing it in person. So bear with us, and the gems are always in the conversation, right? All right, Bryan, thank you so much for coming to my little studio to do this.
Yeah, I'm glad to visit you here.
Yeah, seriously, awesome. You're the first guest in this office. And also, I've never done this before, so this is kind of a new thing that we're trying out. Well, quick story for people who don't know how we met. I think we kind of know each other from Twitter. And then a couple of weeks ago, you told me that you're coming to Hong Kong. And then we said, let's meet up. Let's do a show, kind of recording together. So yeah, this is why we're here.
Yeah, I'm glad it worked out. Because I've been coming to Hong Kong back and forth for almost 10 years now. And I haven't met I've met so many entrepreneurs, but no creator types like ourselves. So I'm really glad we could connect and turn this into something we could make some content with.
Yeah, to be honest, I have to say yes, because I haven't met a lot of people who are in the same space or at least know the terminology that we're using. So yeah, thank you. Usually I like to get to know the person a bit more first. So who are you? Can you tell us a bit about your background, what you care about in life, all that?
Sure. So I'm Bryan McAnulty. I'm the founder of Heights Platform. We're an online course and community creation software. And yeah, I've been doing this, been in business since 2009, originally as a web design studio, and then found the kind of calling to want to build our own products more, because clients always want to mess things up or change things. And so started building things on the side. I tried digital products, I tried physical e-commerce, I tried software. Eventually realized software is what I like the most. And then kind of all that came together of building Heights Platform, from taking those experiences building software, also taking the experiences of myself trying to build and sell online and combining that into building this platform.
And what do you care most in life? Let's stay away from business a little bit.
So for me, my focus is on freedom and how can I have the freedom to do what I enjoy? So that is a big part of what I'm after, and also balance and everything. I'd rather be the most balanced than the most successful with money, the most fit, the most whatever.
Yeah.
So I feel if you look at video game characters, I aim to be the Mario, who's the all around, versus the really heavy character or the really fast character. So yeah, that's kind of how I look at it, and I really enjoy and value spending time with the people I care about, my family, friends. Being able to travel, to see the world, that's something I'm really into, and being able to do the things I enjoy. If you're an entrepreneur and you're building a business, you should be building it to be around your life and what you enjoy, not around money. Yeah. So some people think of it the wrong way around. They think, how can I make money so then I can figure out what I enjoy? And you should be building the business around your life and what you enjoy, and then money can be a byproduct of that.
Yeah, I want to ask you, why did you have this thought so many years ago? Because for me, it only happened at the end of 2020 when my first daughter was arriving. Then I thought about, I want more freedom. I want something that can compound. But you had this thought way back. What triggered that?
So actually, I never went to college. I went right out of high school. I started my business. And I think the reason for having those thoughts is I was pretty deeply worried in high school, what am I going to do with my life? And some people kind of took it as oh, I'll go to college, I'll figure it out. But for me, knowing how much college costs, especially in the US, and not being sure of that, like I wanted to know. I wanted to at least figure out what is it that I want to learn or do and go from there. And I'd already done graphic design things on the side as like a freelance thing. But I felt like I kind of understood that enough. Like I didn't feel like I would learn enough in college. I was kind of into music at the same time. So I thought, oh, maybe that would be something I would learn. But then I realized like if I go to school, it's going to be like a couple years of like academic stuff before I even can go like into the studio and learn the music. And so then I thought I'm going to do my business. And I like this graphic design, web design thing. I already have been doing it for years. And I'll keep doing that. I'll keep growing it. And then I'll try learning some music stuff on the side too. And then kind of see what I think. So that kind of deep like worry actually of like wondering what I'm going to do is what led me to figuring that out maybe a little bit earlier than some would.
Yeah, that makes sense. I went to university in the US and that felt like a huge investment without knowing a clear path.
Yeah.
I was just studying business, entrepreneurship. Yeah, so it's better to get started early to figure things out.
Yeah, actually, I mean, I think I started traveling before turning 21. I bought a one-way ticket and said, I'm going to travel the world, don't know when I'll be back. That time ended up being like 13 months out of the country. And like traveling the world and everything, like I think now with digital nomads and everything, people understand that a little bit different. But like that was way cheaper than like going to college would have been. And I was building my business. I was meeting entrepreneurs and learning things. And like, I don't know, for me personally, I feel without a doubt, like I learned more doing that than I would have learned at a college.
Right. But I think in our culture, like Asian, Chinese, we definitely still want the kids to have a safety net of going to school
my
first.
parents were worried about me. They thought, oh, maybe he's a little bit crazy. Like, what is he thinking? And
yeah. So I want to talk about, since we both have daughters, I have two, you have one. So I want to talk about how do we run a business around our family? Because Bryan and I actually met up for dinner with our families a couple weeks ago, 2 weeks ago. Yeah. And then obviously we care about them. We want to build our work around them. So I want to talk about that. How do you kind of manage both right now? Yeah.
Definitely it was a challenge, like getting into and figuring out how to best do that. So my daughter is just under 2 right now, little over a year and a half. And what I found is the biggest thing is having a like strict schedule about everything. And actually, as an entrepreneur, when I first started, I was like, oh, entrepreneur means no schedule. It means I can do anything at any time. And like, while you can, I think that's probably not the best way. Like, even if you don't have a family or kids yet, because like I thought at first, like being an entrepreneur means I can reply to an email anytime I want. But then it also means like, if you're going to do that, then the client expects you're going to reply to them at 10 o'clock at night. And so setting those rules, even if they're small in the beginning, can be really helpful for yourself. Like, for example, the email, what I'm talking about, saying like, okay, emails are done at 6 p.m. Then you can still work later if you want, but now you can work and you're not stuck like being distracted by a client or a customer. And so in the case of my daughter, we found that the best thing to be efficient was to become a morning person, which I was not before. And so now I wake up early, around like 5:30 or 6 when I'm in the US, and start working. And then my daughter will usually wake up around like 8:30. Hopefully she'll be consistent with that. And that way I get like this good block of work done in the morning, like no distractions, no customers or anything too. And then in the afternoons, I tend to be more like family time with that, of like have lunch together, maybe go out or do something, especially when it's less busy like outside as far as like everybody else at work. And then back in the evenings again, after dinner, we go for a walk or something, and then back to like a focused block of work.
Oh, so you actually work at night?
Yeah, mornings and nights are like the best like productivity times for me.
Okay. So. My schedule is a little different. So morning, actually my schedule is more like a 9 to 6, but with the flexibility of having lunch with my family or taking some time off. Yeah. So your daughter is a little under 2 years old. Did that change how you set business goals as well? Are you less aggressive now?
Maybe more so, actually.
More aggressive?
Yeah, but in different ways. So I guess what I mean, like, I think When my daughter was born, that year I launched a course, like recorded and launched a course. It was a pretty big thing. So it's not like I stopped doing things. I did stop doing like other YouTube videos, but we still did like a podcast that I have. You're going to be on shortly. We'll record here. But yeah, what I guess the reason I have more ambition is now I feel like, well, I have to be able to support my daughter. So I want to be able to grow so that way I don't have to be so focused on or so involved in work later on, and don't have to be in a situation where I ever have to worry about like, how's the business doing or something like this. So it's maybe more motivated to that. Whereas like if I was just by myself, not married, not with a kid, then it's kind of like, oh, well, it's doing what it's doing. I guess like it'll be enough for me. And yeah, so in that sense, a little bit more ambitious, I guess.
I guess that makes sense. Recently, I have some chats with some online friends, and they are all parents. And we feel like we got into entrepreneurship because we want freedom. We want more time with the kids. But end up the kind of freedom is not the same. The freedom is flexibility, not exactly just like having nothing to work on, like just work 4 hours a week. Yeah. Do you find yourself working a lot less hours these days, or is it okay? Like you kind of work it around?
Definitely like the year my daughter was born, I worked less. This year and like now, I think it's kind of back to more normal. But yeah, for me actually, so I tried the idea of like the 4 hour work week. In 2017, I kind of like retired and like just to see like, well, what would this be like, because I had income from other parts of my businesses of like digital products, physical products, things like that. This was before Heights platform launched. And I realized for myself that like, while I enjoyed things, like I traveled some, played video games, I spent time with my then still girlfriend, but it was not as fulfilling. And like, it got, I guess, boring quickly. So then I wanted to get back into work because like usually as an entrepreneur, like the thing you're doing, it should be the thing you're passionate about and what you enjoy. And I think that we find more fulfillment in like making progress with things rather than like just going out to restaurants and traveling and things like this. So for me, I find that like 40 hours a week, like that's what I'm roughly targeting. Sometimes it's maybe a little bit more if it's a really busy time. Sometimes it's less. But yeah, I think that's my target for now, at least. And yeah, I think most people don't actually maybe track their real working time. So I'm really serious about that. And after 2017, it was actually difficult for me to work and like work 40 hours. Like it was hard for me to work 20 hours because I was just not working at all. So it was like a whole like thing to get back used to. And so what I did is I used like none of like the automatic time trackers, like a very simple one. You have to start it and stop it. And like I tracked every minute of what I'm actually working.
Oh, I did that as well. Time audit.
Cool. Yeah. And so, yeah, so I still do that today to know like what is the actual time that I put into work and not like being distracted by something or going somewhere. Because I mean, if you work an office job or something, like it's not as important, but when you're an entrepreneur, like you find like, oh, if you're scrolling the news or social media, like time can get away from you and you feel like you are working, but in reality, like not much really got done. So I try to aim for like 40 hours of actual work. And yeah, but at the same time, like keeping that flexibility to go and travel. Like this is my second time in Hong Kong this year. We spent like almost 2 months here this year. I just got back from my team retreat in Japan. And so, yeah, we're still like taking time off and like enjoying ourselves.
Wow. So you said you actually only launched Heights platform a couple years ago. Before then, you were selling digital products, different things. So that was actually where I am right now. I feel like I'm doing a lot of info products, but in order to have more sustainable growth, I need to start getting into software. So I need to tap into your story.
Okay.
Why started a Heights platform, like to host courses and challenges for people?
Sure. So, well, first of all, we could talk about this more later, but I actually think what I'm doing is definitely like the harder route. I think if I started like with info products and things early on instead, and like just used whatever was out there instead of building a platform, I think I would have made more money earlier probably. But I think there's more long-term potential definitely in the platform. But but it's a lot of work. It's a lot to figure out. Whereas like there's more early on leverage in an information product. So for me, what started all of that and like my passion for it was seeing that there were these great like digital marketers online, and they have this information that they want to share that is really valuable, but then they have some webinar or whatever, especially back then webinars were popular. You get in the course and it's just like a video behind the paywall. Like the student experience was abysmal, just completely horrible.
Yeah.
And so I was passionate about interface design and building software products. And I knew that like something could be built better than that. And so I also felt people are charging like pretty high prices for these kind of courses and communities. And like it ends up being like, here's a video behind the paywall, here's a Facebook group. And like, that's it.
Yeah.
And so even myself then, like I felt like, well, I will feel more comfortable to be able to sell somebody this access to a more comprehensive like program that they're joining, where there's like a community and everything's all right there, as opposed to like this thing that seems like I pieced it together. And at the time there was no like solutions that were especially a good like merging of community and courses. And so with Heights platform, the community, gamification and like student experience, that was the early focus of like, how can we be different than other platforms at the time? And I think that in doing that also, part of what I enjoyed was not just like wanting to solve that problem for myself and others, but I love building software products. So that is another reason why like I specifically want to do this. Like, while even though I feel like maybe I could have made more money like trying to do courses and things earlier, like this is what I want to do. So I don't really mind either way.
Now I'm interested in knowing, how do we get Heights platform off the ground at first? Because a lot of people around me, there are new entrepreneurs. So the early trust building is the hardest. But from the sound of it, maybe you have some customers from your digital products that you can leverage, maybe get their feedback, maybe get some beta users for your platform. How did you get started at first?
Actually, didn't really get customers from my existing audience, which is probably a bad thing to do. I probably could have leveraged that a little bit better. But like my existing audience was around web design. I had a business card printing business. I had a mobile app, and I sold like web design templates and things online. And so it wasn't really the creator audience, but there could have been a couple people in there. I think I probably sent like one newsletter like to let people know like, hey, this is what we're building now. But definitely it wasn't like an early influx of users for us. And I think like the secret that is the most reliable way to make everything work for yourself, but also like not necessarily what people want to hear, because it's not like the quick win path, is that if you just get really good at something and do it for a long time, like you'll eventually have to be at some level of success. So by that time, I'd already been building websites and web platforms for like almost 10 years. And I've done it so many times with clients, like built sites up to millions of users. And I had experience with all those parts of things. So it's not like I was like, I'm going to start a software business and I have to learn how to build software. I already knew that part. So I still had to learn a lot of other parts, definitely. But that gave me a really good head start in that sense. And from having those other businesses, that was kind of like my funding and my runway. So those were passive enough. I don't like to say passive, I like to say like leveraged, but like I had income coming in from those businesses that could support me in spending time building Heights. So that was how I built it early on. And we actually did like a soft launch. Didn't really tell anybody about it for like almost the first year. And in part because people talk about like building an MVP, like minimum viable product. And for Heights platform, like the minimum viable product is just enormous. It just has to do everything. So it's hard to say like, okay, well, here's where you can upload a course, but you can't have payments, you can't have this, you can't have analytics. Like it just has to do it all before you can really see if someone's interested. And so we kind of knew somewhat of the features we'd have to build. And we used the early feedback from like trials and things that would trickle in part with like our already what we had of a roadmap. And then it was like a year later when we decided, now let's figure out how to like do a bigger marketing push with this. So we were posting like blogs and things along the way and stuff like that. but never like told anybody like, here's the massive launch, or like tried to make something of it. And then we were approached by AppSumo in the end of 2019, which is good timing because that's when we were trying to figure all this out. And we launched an AppSumo deal in January 2020, right before like COVID became a thing, which was a good timing, I guess, in that sense, where that got us thousands of users like in just a month from everybody seeing that, because we had a lifetime deal at the time.
Oh.
And anyone listening to this involved in software, I think there's a lot of controversy, I guess, around lifetime deals. I think it's very easy to do it completely wrong and like get in big trouble with your business. And I've seen a lot of people do that, and they basically like put themselves on a timer until they go out of business because they can't afford to support it. Our model, we worked with AppSumo and we came up with something I think worked really well, where number one, if you're doing some kind of like special lifetime pricing, and this can work for like courses, community and things too, don't limit how much the customer can pay you. So we sold like codes. The more codes you bought, the more features or students, in our case, students and like contacts and things that you would unlock of being able to use in the program. So it's not completely like one-to-one with how the subscription plans work, but that meant like people who are already a bigger creator or something, they could go and spend a lot of money with us up front versus like somebody just starting out, they're not really sure, they could invest too, but we're not like limiting, like if somebody's willing to pay more, they could and they could get more. So that helped us. And then we also put like things like video hosting, which can be very expensive. We put that into like an add-on plan. So we had to find the right balance of like what would be acceptable to potential creators, that they don't feel like we're trying to like be sneaky on them or something, and what would be like sustainable for us. But that was something that really helped, not because of like just early revenue, but that like kickstarted the word of mouth for us. And I talked with other founders who had done like an AppSumo deal before, and they all said like that's the big thing, like kickstarting that word of mouth, because now you suddenly have these people talking about you, and it's a lot easier to like use it as a springboard for growth.
I like it. Like from the sound of it, it seems like you took a big gamble, because the lean startup way we know is like build something small, test it out, and then run. But you're like, no, we have to build a kind of full feature platform first in order to get the real validation.
Yeah.
Wow.
Well, I think, again, like I would only suggest somebody do that if you've been building, like if you're in that space already for so long. And so like for courses, I always tell everybody like validate right away. Like even if you've done it before, like don't believe like what it is perfect that you already think. And like, so I'm building another course right now, and that's exactly what I did. We spent some time, just a little bit of time on the title. We didn't even like finalize it. And then we asked ChatGPT, first of all, like which one is better. And then we sent out an email to our audience and said, hey, do you guys agree with ChatGPT? Like which one is better? And like that gave us all this feedback of these different angles of like ways to look at it that we wouldn't have even really come across or like thought of. So the feedback is super important. But yeah, in our case, like having already had that experience, I think, that's why that didn't feel as big of a risk, I guess, to me.
Yeah. Funny thing. So at first, when you said you rely on AppSumo to do the launch, I was thinking, oh, you didn't have to build in public to try to get momentum on the product. But then later you said, when you're building the course, you actually involve the audience, ask them which title is better. That to me is exactly building in public. So to the people watching, do you agree that sometimes people look at a strategy like building in public, they would go like, oh, I can use building in public to gain success. But in reality, it's a combination of different strategy.
Yeah, I think definitely. I think you're right. And actually like AppSumo, I would still say like that is building in public, because while they were promoting us, everybody in like the AppSumo audience is very careful about how they spend their money. Even though like it's a affordable deal for them, they want to like, they're feeling that they're investing in the founder. And so they want to understand like, who is the founder? Where's the platform going? What are you guys planning? So they want to see the roadmap, have all these questions and everything. And so like that period was very busy all day long. Like I was not building the product. I was typing responses all day long of responding to questions, explaining like, this is our vision. This is what the product can do. This is what we want it to do. And so in a way that was very like build in public. And then like, essentially I would take time of like, okay, here's this over the week, like this big burst of like typing all day for questions during the deal. And then on the weekend, like see like, okay, here's now all the feedback I got. Let's work on like some of the most requested things. Tell everybody, hey, we released this, like even while the deal is live, and then like show them that like we're really dedicated to this. We really care about it. So yeah, all of that I think is important. And I think it isn't always a fine line of this is building in public, this is not. And you have to talk with your audience no matter what at some point, because people, if they're going to buy from you, they have to hear about you, they have to know about you. And as a creator, you have to find some way to do that.
So it seems like the nice thing about AppSumo is they first decided they want to buy that product, and then they become part of your community. And now you have all this like lifetime deals buyer, then you can work with them to improve the product. As opposed to if you are maybe building a course, you would talk about it first, and then maybe much later on you do a pre-sale. That's when they finally pay you. Is that the different?
Yeah, I mean, the model can work similar with courses in that like you have a pre-sale or maybe like a free beta period or something where whoever is in your audience currently, you invite them in at a very low price, and like they become the early adopters, supporters. You give them more attention, not less, and then they are the ones who are like championing you and leaving those good reviews. And that way you have the real launch, and now you have reviews already, you have people talking about it, and the people that discover you then find like, wow, this is a great product.
Yeah. I think everyone watching this should revisit the last 5 minutes or so, because I feel like a lot of people feel like building in public is just like sharing my updates, sharing my to-do list, but it's actually not. It's actually working with the community, getting feedback, getting signals, and figuring out what to do next. So that is one big part of my build in public philosophy. The other big part is just to be more transparent, open, and honest. Where do you see you have a bit more transparency in your business so far?
Sure. I think that's a really good question. And I think I can connect it to the whole thing because so the early customers we had with AppSumo, for example, a lot of founders I've seen in the software space, like they consider them a burden no matter what. And it's like, I don't want to have to keep supporting these people or whatever. And we didn't look at it that way at all. In fact, like even I think during the deal before it ended and after, like we emailed them to ask them for support. We asked, do you have any questions? Is there things we can help you with? And most people would say like, I'm getting more support questions now than ever. The last thing I'm going to go do is like go and ask for more. But that's exactly what we did. And that makes like all the difference, because then they're like, wow, this company like really cares about me and they're really trying to help me. So still like to this day, I do support and like check the support email every single day. And that like I check our support email more than I check my personal email. I pretty much ignore my personal email and just have my assistant will tell me like, you have to reply to this or that. But the support email is actually what I look at, because not only do I want to make sure my customers feel taken care of, but also like that's all the feedback, you know? I want to be able to understand exactly, not hear it from somebody else in the team. Like this is what the pain point is for the customer. This is what they're struggling with. This is what they don't understand. So I can be able to better solve that for them.
Now that you talk about this, it inspired me of a new angle to talk about transparency. Usually people think it's just, writing a retrospective and publishing lesson learns with people, maybe even admitting some mistakes. But I feel like I'm getting a different angle from you, that you're just transparent in the behavior with your user. Like you're working with them honestly, telling them the progress of the platform. That's pretty cool.
Like we'll get on calls with them even. Like every once in a while we'll do like product discovery calls, like pick a couple people who we know like engage with us a real lot or doing a lot on the platform and say like, hey, do you want to have a call with us? We want to ask you some questions and things. And we let them know like, honestly, this is what we're working on. This is what we're imagining to build or to do. And then also to understand what they're doing. So I think, transparency for me, I view it a lot in as like telling everybody like what we're doing and how we're working and interacting with them, rather than being like, oh, I'm the CEO or whatever. You don't get to talk to me. Like we have secrets back here we're not going to tell you about, that kind of thing.
So right now across social media, I think people are using transparency a lot, but in the way that they are posting their revenue, their growth charts, how many new users they're getting. How do you see these numbers and metrics that are being put out there?
Yeah, I like this question because I think people like that works. People want to see like, oh, this person's making money and it's motivating. But personally, like I hate talking about money. For me, the story is in freedom, not the money. Money doesn't tell a story because you're earning money, but like, are you profitable? Like, how long have you been earning that money? Like, it doesn't really say what's going on. And for me, it's always been about freedom to do what I enjoy. And so I rather show that from like what I'm doing and like in my life, like, I think that's just a better example, I guess. Like, do you have the freedom to do what you want? And so for me, like that's traveling, that is enjoying myself and what I'm building with my team, with my family. And like, that's the kind of thing I don't want to say like that I am posting because I don't really actually use social media. So more of our marketing is focused on like SEO and like this kind of thing rather than like just me. Like I build in public with my customers, but not with like the new audience. But I've realized I should do more of that. And I'm not the type, I'm more of an introverted personality. Like I don't have this desire to be on YouTube or anything like that. But I realized over the past like year or so that even though I don't want to like naturally do that, the reason that like my drive for deciding to do it is because I want to make a positive impact on potential customers and help people grow and learn and build businesses. And the way to do that is by talking about it. So I want to make that impact for people more than I don't want to be on a video or something like this. So I should talk about that more. I should like brag about like how I just flew my team to Japan. We just all spent a week enjoying Japan together. And like, that's the kind of thing that for me is more important, of showing that you have the freedom to do what you want.
Did you end up posting about the Japan trip?
I did not yet, but I'm embracing all of this, as I said. So we're working on a new course right now, and I'm doing like a vlog series, and I will be posting about it because I shared like what I did before I came here to Hong Kong and started building it, recording the first lessons. Then I gave an update while I was here working in Hong Kong, and then also recorded some things in Japan to tell everybody. Actually not working on it as much this week because now we're traveling and taking some time to spend time with the team. But yeah, I am recording that series to kind of show everybody not only our process of like what we're building, but like how life looks like for me and how I'm building a business.
I love that. I feel like we're tapping into a new angle for building in public as well, because I personally made mistakes when I was filming YouTube videos. I was just sitting here looking at the camera with my slightly fancy backdrop, and then it was just talking head. But recently I learned that, like what you said, when I'm able to show just holding my phone, shooting around, what's behind the scene. But the behind the scene is not so much posting a screenshot on Twitter, but more so the actual doing. People feel so much more connected to me. Like my last video, people actually want to talk to me. So I guess this is another way of building in public, just show more.
Yeah, I mean, I realized over the last year or so, like we take our podcast and like cut it up into clips for reels and TikToks and things. And the most popular clip we had last year was with Andrew Warner of Mixergy. And it wasn't like a business tip really at all like the other ones were. It was actually a story about his kids and selling lemonade. And we got 50,000 views on that reel on Instagram, where some of our others got like 200 or something. And I realized then that the difference is that, of course, you want to educate your audience and teach them something. But people, when they're on a platform like Instagram or TikTok or Twitter, they're also there because they want to be entertained in some level. And so this story that Andrew told was how he built this lemonade stand with his kids, and he told them, let's let people pay whatever they want. And his kids were all scared about it. They were like, what if people are going to pay a penny? And then the end result was nobody paid a penny. Most people paid at least $1 or more than that. And so the lesson from a business standpoint was like, it could actually work to have like a pay what you want kind of strategy in certain scenarios that like it's worth trying. And so it connected the business lesson still, but the whole story was very personal and about like his family and his life. And I think that is the reason why it did so much better with social media.
Yeah, I think we all need to learn to be better storytellers. Bryan, I want to talk a little bit about courses because your platform, the software, is supporting courses and challenges, and I run a course. Lately, I think cohort-based course is kind of decreasing in demand. I just feel like maybe because COVID is over, people are back to real life. There's just not so much demand in the sitting together for like 3-4 weeks kind of learning. What are you seeing from your angle?
So I don't necessarily feel like I'm seeing that directly, but I think we were talking about quick before that there is this shift of such a big spike in 2020, right? Of COVID, of everyone said, I want to make a course, I want to make a podcast, I want to do something online. And now a large number of those people have realized like, oh, I'm not going to make $1 million in a week. And then they kind of given up on it. Whereas I do feel there's still constantly people joining the industry and are interested in all of it. The like big kind of wave that we had before, a lot of those people, have maybe stopped. And so that I think could be the reason for feeling like that. But personally, I like the idea where a cohort-based course, or like this is like the time where it's happening. Like we do a lot of like the challenges, which are typically like, could be a cohort, but it's like shorter. And I like those for the engagement principles of when you're a creator, you're trying to teach somebody something, and chances are you're not like a professional instructional designer. You have this thing that you know and you can teach it to people, but you may not be able to teach it in like the perfect way that keeps everybody engaged. So everybody talks about, I have this problem with my course that people buy it and then they aren't completing it. So what I think is really powerful is to have a challenge be for the course, where you have a 7-day challenge, 5-day challenge, whatever it is, make that affordable and get somebody a quick result. So it's not the full result of your course, but it gets them some kind of quick result. And then at the end of the challenge, you upsell and say like, well, here's now the full course. Do you want to join and like go into the full cohort course, whatever it is? But the reason to do this is the challenge kind of starts that engagement off and helps everybody build a habit. Because if you say like, okay, this whole selling process, now you buy my $1,000 program, but the person's not used to like logging in and going through that. So if you have this challenge and you say, okay, you have to log in like every day, do the quick lesson. And if you don't, like if you miss it, like the challenge is over, you just miss it. So they feel like, okay, I've got to do it now if I want to engage with that. And then they're building this habit of like completing a lesson every day. So now they go through that, hopefully get a positive result. They buy your course, and now they already build a habit of like, okay, I'm going to log into this program and I'm going to go and do a lesson. And so that I think also helps that early engagement, as opposed to like the kind of student who buys the course and just doesn't do anything. But personally, like that's where I like challenges to fit in. And then for the course itself, I do like more like the evergreen model and like self-paced rather than like strict cohorts and launches. And I like tying that together with a community. So course plus community, and everybody goes through it. You continue to have access. So then the new people come in and then they can learn from the people who are already in the community and see things like that. And then that just adds more value to your whole program, because you have somebody got a good result. They share that. They share about how they did it. And now they're even maybe learning things from that person that they wouldn't have learned from you themselves.
Why did you prefer evergreen, like the door is always open, as opposed to maybe the enrollment window is open 4 times a year? Because I'm doing the 4 times a year enrollment window, so I want to learn from you.
I mean, I think it's a preference for everybody. And I think there's a good lesson there that a lot of creators will say like, oh, this person's doing launches, this person's doing cohorts, doing communities, memberships. And I don't think there's really like a right or wrong answer. I think any creator can make like significant money doing any of those things. It really comes down to like you personally and your business. What do you enjoy and what like fits in best with your kind of model of what you're teaching? So like if you were like a fitness creator or like a chef and you want to teach recipes or something, like that maybe kind of naturally fits a membership better, where like you're releasing content every month and then people pay a subscription. But for as far as like launches and having evergreen, I think it also depends on like what you're after with all of it. Are you good at creating content in a way that like you can keep building up to these different launches, and then while that's hard, you have the benefit of the structure of everybody enrolls and you know that everybody in your course is all like at this point because they enrolled at the same time. Whereas getting a lot of customers in an evergreen model can be a challenge because somebody contacts you and you're like, well, where are they at compared to everybody else? And so it takes more effort to be able to like give them the same level of support. So yeah, it really depends on like a bunch of factors like that. I don't think there's like a right or wrong answer.
For sure. Yeah, I like it because I feel like online learning is actually very community driven. Not the kind of cohort like you really need to all show up at the same time. But when I enroll people in badges, they feel like they have some buddies to start with instead of, oh, I'm just taking this course alone. So I really like that. And especially with challenges as well. You are taking on a challenge because you want to have some buddies to do it with. I feel like a lot of course creator, they want to create a course, but then they don't want to talk to students. They want to just work on things their own. And that's a misconception. It's all about people.
Yeah, I agree, definitely. Yeah, and I think, yeah, there's ways like it becomes easier or harder either way with that, because the community part in the evergreen can be a challenge because you have to keep everything engaged and everything going. Whereas the cohort, it's more like, okay, everybody's joining now, and it kind of like handles itself a little bit better as far as like the community being active. So yeah, there's challenges either way, but I think that having your students interact and interacting with them and making them feel like they're not like alone just taking some course by themselves is a really big point of the value that you as an individual creator can provide. Because remember, like the reason people are taking your course is for your unique message, what you have to share. And it's not just the content itself, because they could probably find like a YouTube playlist or something to learn some of that. But it's that value of your unique message plus the community and engagement of like what you're bringing everyone together. And that's something they can't get somewhere else.
I have a lot of students or audience. They are quite early stage. So sometimes when they launch their first batch, it's a few people, less than 10. Then would you recommend them to do a challenge first, or an evergreen video lessons, or put everyone together and teach live, like a live cohort? What do you think?
I think like if you're just starting and you don't have much of an audience, don't have many customers yet, it's better to just go more and more connected to the customers that you have. So if that means like people always worry, I'm going to pre-sale my course. What if nobody buys it? What if only one person buys it? Then like, first of all, you make the decision of like, if you want to refund people or like give up. I would encourage you to not give up and like just keep trying it. It's like most course creators, it's not like they launch one product and like that's the end, like they're successful forever. Even if they have a successful product, like you're launching multiple products and always building. So I would encourage you to not give up, and then take that customer, even if they're only one, and like give them more than what they paid for. So if you said you were going to give them this course, now add some like coaching into it and get on the call with them. And don't look at it from the perspective of like, oh, I'm building this like passive thing, I don't want to talk to somebody. Like find a way that you can enjoy talking with your customer because they're interested in you, you know? And so don't look at it as like you're spending time and like giving away more than you thought you did. But by talking with them, you can figure out all their actual problems, all the things they actually had questions about, use that to improve the course, improve the marketing, the landing page. Now, when you go and launch it again, grow your audience a little bit more, then you get more people. And then so you just kind of repeat. And then as you refine that, you'll eventually figure out, okay, this model I like better than this model, or this is how I want to do it in the future.
Oh, I so agree with that. I was running an office hour the other day, and usually it's just me helping the members and the students. And then at the end, one of them said, Kevon, what do you need help with? And then I'm like, oh, that means I have been doing the right thing. Like you said, I just give all I have. I don't care how much they're paying. I don't care what they're trying to get from this course, but I'm kind of like a free resources giving out, and now they want to help me out, and I'm like, oh, so thankful.
Yeah, I think that's the way to do it because not only does like that can potentially return to you in that way,
Yeah.
but that's also like the reason that people will go and talk to you and say like, you guys got to check out like Kevon's program because he's helped me so much and all this versus like just delivering this very strict thing that like, no, I'm never going to talk with you or this is what you get and that's it.
Well, Bryan, I learned so much from you today. I feel like I need to go back and work on my business some more, figuring out the future. Thank you so much.
Yeah, I'm glad to talk with you.
Yeah, so for the people watching this, where can they find you? You said you haven't been very active on social media, but you're trying, right? Trying more.
Yeah,
Where can they go?
My social media involvement is going to be more on YouTube. So you can check out our YouTube channel at Heights Platform. You can find us on Heights Platform. We've got a free trial if you want to build a course or community of your own. We're the only software that has an autonomous AI coach that will actually learn on its own, give you recommendations on its own to help you grow your business for your unique goals. That's in the free 30-day trial too, no credit card required. And then if you're not quite ready to do all that, but you're interested in what we're doing, then we also have a free community at creatorclimb.com.
I saw the AI coach. I was thinking, actually, like a lot of my students, they are always thinking, I don't know what to do next. So that can really solve that.
Yep. Yeah. A lot of our thinking of the whole thing is like, how can we empower creators and give them as many resources either for free or as cheap as possible for them to succeed? Because in the end, like we're not trying to make money off like information or coaching. We want you to be successful. So you keep staying subscribed to our product.
That sounds awesome. Usually I cannot high five my guests, but we can do a high five now.
Awesome.
Yeah. Bye-bye.